Kellyanne Conway's dangerous game. The president's counselor is taking chances now in the hopes of a high-profile payoff down the line. Kellyanne Conway once again put herself at the center of controversy last week when she went on national television and declared she was doing a free commercial for Ivanka Trump's clothing line. Ethics laws be damned. Media snarked, ethics watchdogs barked, and even White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer said Conway had been counseled on her behavior. But according to someone who has worked with Conway and knows her thinking intimately, none of that much matters to Conway. She's taking a long view in her bid to rise in the White House ranks, and she's performing for an audience of one: President Donald Trump. And so while critics may squawk, what matters most to Conway is that Trump sees her defending him on national television. For Conway, the prize for loyalty is eventually landing a spot as chief of staff, becoming the first woman ever to hold the role and cementing her spot at the center of Trump's inner circle. Currently, Conway is seen within the White House as a queen without an army, according to a former campaign official. Conway has a vague title of counselor and recently hired a chief of staff and an assistant to support her on her quest to dig into the next phase of issues, according to Conway. She has taken ownership of opioid abuse and Veterans Affairs, a portfolio that Trump cares deeply about. Conway says she plans to turn her office into a war room and was quick to mention that she has top security clearance. She has her eye on leading the White House Council on Women and Girls with former Goldman Sachs executive Dina Powell, senior counselor for economic initiatives, and with Ivanka Trump, should Ivanka decide to take a more active role in the administration. White House officials say Conway spends her days dipping in and out of meetings to offer big-picture communications advice while taking on cable news talking heads in the mornings and evenings and steering reporters throughout the day. Had she wanted it, Conway could have had a more defined role already. Trump favored Conway for press secretary over Sean Spicer, the longtime aide to Reince Priebus who currently holds the position. But Conway said she turned down the job because she wanted a role in setting policy, not just communicating it. As Conway sees it, she already has more. "All you need to know is that I have the ear and confidence of one person," Conway said. "I have walk-in privileges," she said, claiming she's among the few who can enter the Oval Office without being summoned. Conway in January even tweeted a line suggesting that she's filling the shoes of Valerie Jarrett, senior advisor to former President Barack Obama. "Congratulations to @Valerie Jarrett on post-White House life. I inherited your office and love of the job. All best." Hoping to cement that role, Conway has never wavered in her defense of Trump since becoming his final campaign manager this summer. She took that defense to a new level Wednesday when, with the president under fire for publicly rebuking Nordstrom over dropping Ivanka Trump's clothing line, Conway swept in for a dramatic display of loyalty. In a nationally televised interview, Conway touted the president's right to defend his daughter and then proclaimed she was doing a commercial for the first daughter's clothing line. Federal rules preventing public officials from using their office to plug private products be damned. It's what Conway has done for Trump all along: allow him to spit fire for his base and then defend him against everyone else. That's important to an image-obsessed Trump, who continually assesses what his team is doing to promote him on television. She's the one who is more in tune with what's going on in the world of the media and what they're thinking, which is valuable for Trump because his entire day fluctuates based on what's in the media, the former campaign official said. Trump relies on her to create what Conway calls real people impact. To Conway, that means communicating in the way that Trump did on the campaign trail, tapping into the forgotten man and woman. It also means talking about how things will look, such as whether Trump should sign an executive order in the Oval Office or somewhere in Middle America. "I promised the president I would help oversee communications here," Conway said. "Comms is not press, it's visionary, it's the real people impact." According to a source close to Trump, the real estate magnate respects the aides who he perceives don't need him, like chief strategist Steve Bannon, a multimillionaire who ran right-wing news outlet Breitbart. and he measures members of his team as either staff or peers based on their success, which may explain why Conway is quick to explain that Trump knows the sacrifice she has made to work for him. "He knows I had a huge offer to sell my firm. He knows I walked away from millions," Conway said. "I admire the sacrifices he made to be here, and he admires the sacrifices I made. Having to sort through the schooling and living situation for my family. It means something to me that he acknowledges it." But beyond the financials, Conway's dogged loyalty to Trump has come at a personal and professional cost. Beyond the ethics furor over her using public office to boost Ivanka Trump's private interest, Conway's credibility is under constant attack. In her attempt to do Trump's bidding, she may have crossed one of the people closer to Trump than herself, Ivanka Trump. A source close to Trump said that his daughter scolded Conway for dragging her brand into an ethics mess and told her not to mention it again on TV. This was a continuation of a conversation that Ivanka Trump had with her father weeks earlier about leaving her business out of the politics, a conversation that Conway wasn't aware of. Trump, for his part, thought the word "counseled," used by Spicer at the press briefing, was terrible and said Conway's statement was just a continuation of his own sentiments, according to someone in the room. "Why would you use that word? Whose idea was that?" Trump asked Spicer after the press briefing, the source said. In recent weeks, Conway hit meme-level mockery for thrice referencing the Bowling Green massacre, despite there being no such thing. Conway says she misspoke in referencing the arrest of bomb makers in Kentucky who were responsible for no domestic terror. CNN also openly questioned whether it wants to have her on air, citing her credibility. Privately, a producer from another network noted that network is re-evaluating how valuable a guest such as Conway is, considering it's not clear she's in the room when decisions are being made. "We've been more selective on who we have on from the administration. The decision makers are Reince Priebus, Jared Kushner and Steve Bannon. We should be focusing on those guys," the producer said. Conway shot back, "That sounds a little sexist." And not everyone is buying Conway's assertion that she's at Jared-level closeness with Trump. Jared, a Chicago native, had an almost familial closeness with Obama and reached that level with his wife, Michelle. As assistant to the president for public engagement and intergovernmental affairs, Jared was one of the longest-serving senior staffers of the Obama administration, with walk-in privileges to the Oval Office. "I would think that Ivanka or Jared would be the closest to having that sort of relationship," said Ebbs Berno, deputy social secretary in the Obama administration. He said the Obama-Jared tie was a deep tie that can't be replicated overnight. Jared and Conway met over lunch in D.C. in early January to talk about the trials and tribulations of the job, Conway said. She said Jared warned her about the incredible volume of requests and offers and to be responsive and still focus on why I'm here. But while Conway does not oversee Spicer and the communications shop, Jared had a clearly defined portfolio, including business leaders, state and local leaders and intergovernmental affairs, and 3 deputy assistants underneath her in the office and special assistants below them. Before Jared, Karen Hughes oversaw the Bush White House's offices of communications, media affairs and speechwriting, as well as the press secretary. But the heart of Conway's position remains her connection to Trump. "I know who I am to this guy and what he relies on me for," she said. Thanks you for watching. Please subscribe 24 Hours News channel. Goodbye and see you again.